You hear them every Sunday on the PFC network. Now, you can support Jill and Jenny with the brand new store dedicated to Creepy Soup. From a variety of t-shirts, hoodies, and hats, to coffee mugs, towels, and backpacks, there's so many ways to show off your fandom for Creepy Soup. Head over to PFC Creepy Soup at printify.me for all things Creepy Soup as part of the PFC Entertainment Network.
This episode is rated M for mature audiences. The views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of the PFC Entertainment Network or any of the affiliates that make this show possible.
This is the Pure Fury Creations Entertainment Network.
This is Creepy Soup on the PFC Entertainment Network.
Hello. I think this is episode 14, 15. I don't even remember anymore.
I can look it up, but I'll put it in there when I'm uploading and doing all the producers part of this endeavor. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's 114, 115, something like that.
Yeah. I want to say maybe the one with Sean was 114. So yeah, this might be 115. I don't know.
I gotta tell you, that was a fun listen.
Yeah.
That the episode that Sean Krugel, which you also hear on Power Trippin' through the 80s and Hot Tag. That was a real the banter between you two on last week's show. That was I really enjoyed listening to that. Like, you guys were both so engaging, and I loved how you brought up the different pictures that he had sent to you. Like, the whole presentation was, I really enjoyed. I found myself like, damn, that was a great fucking episode. I really enjoyed that.
Well, I'm sure he told you we had fun. Like, we had a lot of fun while recording. And he actually video chatted with me the other day. Him and I'm assuming his son were at, and I had never heard of it before, but let me tell you, I want to go there now. It was called shit.
I've never heard that place. Shit.
Yeah, you have. We go there like 5-6 nights a week.
Well played. Well played.
Tyrone Sunken Garden. It's in Fenton.
Yes. Yes.
It's behind the cemetery. I had never heard of it before, but you want to know, I would like to, over this long weekend, maybe go check that out, because that was really fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he was like, he messaged me. He's like, "Are you around?" And I'm like, "Yep, getting ready for work." And he video chatted me, and he was showing me this stuff. I'm like, "That is fucking cool. I want to go."
Yeah, that would be kind of a cool thing to record on site, and for the show, your show, the crossover, what have you.
Yeah,
that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I meant to send you a message the other night when I listened to the show to let you know, hey, that was spot on, and that was a very enjoyable episode. So kudos.
Well, thank you. I had fun recording.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Yeah, I had fun recording it, and you know, anytime it's a paranormal topic, I am all over that shit like a fat kid on a cupcake. Love it. And I don't know. I could never not want to talk about it. You know what I mean? It's just
Mhm.
one of those things. So, and like I know like I have activity here, Jenny does, and every once in a while we do like a little update on shit that's happening in our house and things like that. Um, but it is nice to have like someone else share their experiences and things like that. So that was cool for me.
In terms of your house, just
Okay.
as a sidebar, what's the most significant what's the word? Proof of something happening in there? Like what's the one thing that's happened in your house you're like, "Damn, there's something else happening here."
Okay, so and this is something I can send you a video and show and so you can actually see it. Um so not this year but last year. Okay, so all right, when they started canceling all of our Saturdays at work, that
Mhm.
was kind of my Christmas budget. So
Mm.
I started what I call Diet Christmas, where all the grandkids get stuff, and of course other people who aren't gonna follow my new tradition or whatever. And then after profit sharing, um, we call it Marchmas because we do it in March. So it was last year, and there was 8 of us, 9 of us, 8 or 9 of us in the room. There was me and my husband, my son, my daughter, her husband, and 3 kids. So I think that's 8 people. And we're sitting there, and okay, so my middle grandson is, I mean, they all like to, like, let's investigate the house, Nana, kind of thing. But my middle grandson is like really, really into it. So I had bought him, um, oh, a spirit box to play around with. And I had got them all like the one big gift, and I was trying to figure out who do I wanted him to be the last one to open it. But I had him pick a number, this and that, and so we're sitting there trying to figure out, like, okay, well, who got it? And my oldest grandson says like 2 or 3 times, I said 10. And the last time before he says it, there's a box on the floor, an Amazon box, and it's sitting there. And if you're looking at it just prior to what happens, you almost see, I always say it reminds me of like the cloaking from Predator, how you can kind of
Mhm.
see like the little wave. And then this box just like moves, and it like and it's crazy because now could it have been the tape? Sure. But if you hear the noise involved in it, it's more than just the tape popping. If you know, and like I didn't even, it's kids, so I didn't use like good tape. I used like the cheap Dollar Tree tape. So
Right.
it didn't hold that well where it's going to pop off and make the noise that it made.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested in seeing something like that.
Yeah, I'll when we're all done, I'll send it to you because it is now they're loud, so give it a second. But yeah, like just prior to, I think my oldest grandson says 2 or 3 times. I said 10, and then boom, it happens. And then originally, like a couple of the people thought Jackson, because he was like moving around because he's like hyper and excited, thought he kicked it. Like, no, he didn't kick it. My husband was recording the whole thing, and he was like, no, he didn't kick it. So yeah, that was cool. And then I want to say the latest thing to really happen was while I was on vacation, I had went to an antique store, and when I was younger, my whole bedroom was Holly Hobby. And I'm walking around and I'm thinking to myself, because I was by myself, I'm like, man, I haven't seen anything Holly Hobby. Usually you see something. Well, I come around and like 3 or 4 vendor spots in, boom, staring at me, Holly Hobby. Guess what? I got to have it. Did I need to spend $40 on it? Yes. So anyone who does things with the paranormal and likes antiques should know. I should know. I should have known better. I do know better. When you buy shit like that, cleanse it first before you bring it in. Because I've had a lot of activity since I've brought her in.
Really?
Hmm.
So, forgive me, because I'm not like I'm novice at this stuff. Like I'm
Hmm.
interested in it, but I don't know a whole hell of a lot. When you talk about cleansing, what exactly are we talking about here? What's the Cliff Notes version of that?
Well, there's a couple different ways you can do it. Like if you have a sage stick, you can sage it, or incense, like cleanse it with the smoke from the incense. Um, I mean, it's a doll, but if it's something like if you're bringing in a table, like you buy a table from an antique store, garage sale, anything like that, you can I know this sounds stupid and messy, but trust me, it works. You can sprinkle salt on it, let it set for a little bit, and then sweep it off, vacuum it, however, and then of course they say the best way to get rid of the salt is throw it off your property, but that's, I mean, not always the best thing to do. Another way you can cleanse an item is sound. Like if you find like music calms you down, you can put it in front of a speaker and play music. Yeah,
I wasn't sure if it was something, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful here. Like I'm trying to like I didn't know if that's something that because people have a notion that when you talk about cleansing something, they're confusing that with the practice of exorcism, where you have to get a priest and all this stuff. So when I'm hearing you bought a doll, you want to get the thing cleansed. My thing is, did you have to take it to a priest and let them do something to it? But it may, now that I know, it's not quite there. But
yeah,
um, I just wasn't sure how all that worked.
yeah.
Because
There's
I'm
different.
here to tell you, there's there's something that happens in this house, and I'm firmly convinced it's my brother and or my mom.
Oh, very
No
well
doubt
could
about
be.
it. That rocking chair right here uh, has been known to just all of a sudden, like I'll be sitting here and I'll be doing something like this, and out of the corner of my eye, I can see it. I'm turn back around, and it's like slowing down. I'm like, the fuck is going on around here? But I don't feel nervous. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
So then it probably, I would say it is them to kind of let you know, like, hey, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I like what you're doing, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I wrap my brain around.
Yeah.
That's what's happening. And I really feel like it's like that's my mom's chair,
Mm.
but like all my wrestling and podcast shit are down here. Like I have a lot of pictures around here of Jeff and I when we were a tag team and in the ring and stuff like that. So I work a lot on this. The whole network is in his name. So I kind of feel like he's kind of sitting in mom's chair and kind of looking over my shoulder to see how or what I'm working on. You
Yeah.
know,
Probably just to say he likes what you're doing. He approves, kind of thing.
yeah,
That's how I would take it.
yeah, because it like nothing freaks me out. Like nothing has happened. I'm like, geez, I'm getting the fuck out of here. It's never been anything like that. You
Yeah.
know, but yeah, I firmly believe that there's something happening in here from time to time. How could you
Yeah.
not? You know, so.
Yeah, and if you don't feel nervous, threatened, or like fearful or anything like that, then that's you know usually, well, the one night after, and I noticed this started happening after I brought the doll in, where we would see someone like kind of walking past the doorway and going like up the stairs. Well, the only person that goes upstairs is my son. Kids are not allowed up there. He has certain that he doesn't want the kids around, even though they're locked up, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the kids know not to go up there. And the one night, my husband and I were sitting in the kitchen talking, and he was like, Ben, what are you doing? Ben, I'm talking to you. Ben was sound asleep All the kids were sound asleep. But someone went up the stairs. Or we'll hear someone coming down the stairs. Yeah, it's yeah.
Hmm.
And it's pretty much been like since. I mean, things of course happened before that, but that has been way more frequent since I brought the doll in and didn't do what I should have.
God damn it, Jill. After what you would think, right?
You would think I should. I mean, I know better, but yet I didn't. So,
Hmm.
yeah.
Mm-mm. Well, yeah. So if you guys do the thing at Tyrone, we'll have to figure out a way to document that.
Yeah, that'd be
You know,
cool.
yeah, it would be. It'd be
And apparently, to
something
get through it,
different.
you have to go through a cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Have you ever gotten a new piece of technology and you don't know how to work the fucking thing?
Yeah, recently, I swore off these fucking smartwatches.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Why do I need this? I cannot imagine a reason why I would need a smartwatch. But I had to go upgrade my phone not all that long ago because shit started breaking down on it. Well, but for $5 more a month, not only do you get a new phone and you get an iPad, we're gonna throw in a fucking iWatch too. And I'm like, you can keep your iWatch. I don't want it. And like, no, man, it does this, it does this. Well, I'm sitting here, like, the thing is that big around, right? So I'm sitting like, what the fuck does these buttons do? Like, yeah, very frustrating. Very frustrating.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that deep. It really shouldn't. But damn it. I don't, nothing like a piece of technology to make me, who I think is a pretty intelligent individual, feel like a fucking moron. You know what I mean?
Right. My, uh, I don't know, back before Mother's Day, my son was talking to me about this thing that he had ordered and he was thinking about getting it for me for Mother's Day. And then he told me how much it was. I'm like, no, 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 don't do that. That's crazy expensive. So what do? I fucking buy it myself. And what it is, it's a Kindle.
Okay.
But, and he was like, it would, it'd be perfect for your podcast because, sometimes I use books and I don't know if you can see,
Oh, yes.
but
Yep.
yeah, you can write.
How awesome is that?
So I'm like, that's cool, but I can't get back to the homepage. Yeah, I can't get back to home.
Oh,
I
Lord.
don't know. I can't do it. Like it doesn't, not that I can see, it doesn't have like that little home button at the bottom like my other Kindle does. Yeah, I don't know.
If you see, I don't know because I've never I know what they are, but I've never held one. Like on my phone, it didn't have the home button like my old phone did. I'm like, how the fuck do I get back to the whole thing? But I realized if you put your finger at the end of it and kind of swipe up, it'll take that page back up, and then you can navigate through it. I'm like, oh, okay, that's weird. So I wonder if that's something like what you got to do, or if it's just I don't know. I don't know. I
Maybe.
don't know anything about Kindles. I know what they are. That's about the extent of my expertise.
Yeah, and now I will say I've had this for a couple months now. I got it like just prior to the Amazon Prime days.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been a couple months and I only had initially given it its first charge and it's been kind of sitting. It's still at 81%.
Oh,
So the battery life is top notch.
yeah.
And because I couldn't, I think I just figured out, shut the fuck up. I think I just figured out how to get back home. But whatever. I don't need it now. But I bought a case for it. And when you close the case, it goes into like a sleep. And that's my case. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It goes into like a sleep mode. Oh, no. And as soon as I open it and it goes out of sleep mode, it was the notes. And I'm like, all right, that's all I needed. I needed the notes. I'll figure the rest out later.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It's been a whole thing. It's oh god. Like we were
Technology.
yeah, like we were talking just prior to recording, with thankfully it's over now, Mercury being out of retrograde or whatever it's called. It's been a nightmare. It's been a rough couple weeks.
Yeah, we did talk. I'm like, man, there I had this happen, which led to this, which led to that, and you're like, well, this is what's been going on the last few weeks, and this is, could have been a contributor, and like, I'm not going to sit here and argue one way or the other because, like I had told you, in one particular aspect, I don't have bad days, and I
Hmm.
wound up having a bad day in that aspect, and I'm like, something is fucking weird, and I am not here for it. I don't
Yeah.
want no part of this. I don't like how this feels. And then when you started telling me about that, I'm like, well, it's got to be at least a contributor on some level.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I don't get into the whole astrology aspect. I just know if Mercury's in retrograde, I am fucked for about 3 weeks. That's usually at least once during Mercury retrograde, my car is in the shop, and it was. Um, at least once, someone has a huge fight, and that happened. And then, like my husband's phone has been really acting up. Uh, my laptop, she's just temperamental. I mean, that's I don't know.
But we're out of that phase now.
Yes,
Okay.
and
So
everyone is
shit.
always like aligned with the different. Like this one was Mercury retrograde in Virgo, um, and yeah, so everyone's like a different sign, and then it affects different zodiac signs different ways. I just know I'm always screwed. I don't really care.
What are you?
I'm a Sagittarius.
Sagittarius? Okay. All right.
Yep.
Interesting. It's just such a I've listened to people who are so passionate about astrology and all like I they captivate me because of their enthusiasm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, okay, for you to be this dialed into this, it it's worth giving you my undivided attention.
Hmm.
Like teach me something. And I don't dismiss really much of anything on this level because it started from something. It started somewhere,
Right.
and especially with things like astrology and paranormal, like there's enough evidence, like physical evidence that backs up a lot of what's claimed. So
Mm.
you can't dismiss it. And
Yeah.
there's other things that are like, get the fuck out of here. Like I know go back to the drawing board and put some more thought into the backstory because it
Right.
ain't flying for me.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, we
Yeah.
have an
It's
interesting topic this week, I'm told.
yeah. It's one I've actually anyone who's been listening, um, I had kind of hinted. Okay, so at work I throw on Netflix, but it's never anything that needs my undivided attention. It's
Yes, I
always something
agree.
that I can listen and get all the context, or I'll rewatch a series, or well, I'll listen to it, something that I've already seen. So I kind of already know what's going on. Like right now, it's The Ranch. I'm watching that for like the fourth fucking time. Um,
Never seen it.
no, it's
Mm-mm.
it's so funny.
That's the one with Sam Elliott and Ashton Kutcher.
Yep,
Yes. Okay.
yep.
Like I
It,
know of it, but I've not seen it.
yeah, and it was one of those things like I had seen it being advertised, kind of thing, and I'm like, eh, maybe. And it's really good. Like uh, Deborah Winger and Sam Elliott in the beginning of the series are married, and they're the parents to Colt and Rooster, which is Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson.
Okay.
So and then there's like, if you've ever watched that 70s show, the lady that plays Kitty Foreman is in
Hmm.
it. Red Foreman is in it. And then, like, after that 70s show, Ashton Kutcher did Two and a Half Men with John Cryer. He is in it.
No kidding.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
he's
really
only got a
cool.
couple of guest spots in it, but like, the lady that plays Kitty plays um Ashton Kutcher's future mother-in-law. The guy that plays Red Foreman, he plays a guy selling his ranch and they want to buy it. It's a thing. I like the show. It's funny as hell. It's so funny.
I'll have to check that out. It's on Netflix, you say?
Yep.
Yeah, I gotta get Netflix. I've been talking about it for weeks, but everything that I need to that's coming up, like WWE is going to Netflix, and the Beverly Hills Cop movies out there. Like, there's so much that I'm like, I just gotta bite the bullet and do it. So when
Yeah.
I do, I'll check that out.
Yeah. And like, we had Netflix years ago and then we got rid of it. And then we were really into that show Lucifer.
Mm-hmm.
And then it got canceled. And then Netflix picked it up. So that's when we got Netflix. So when it came out, we could watch it. And then while waiting for that, we started watching The Ranch and things like that. And yeah. And now I pretty much keep it. I think I'm the only one that watches it. And it's just for like documentaries so that if I need research for things. Yeah. So that is essentially where this whole conversation started. There is a series. So far, it seems to be 2 seasons on Netflix. It's season 1 is Law and Order New York, and season 2 is Law and Order Los Angeles. And it's not like the TV show. It's more of like, oh, each episode is a different crime that happened. Super interesting. I was thinking of a couple different ones, and I'm like, oh, I really like this one. Well, I don't like it because, when people die, it's horrible. But
Right.
this one, well, they all seem to have like a satisfying ending.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually the case of the murder of Mickey and Trudy Thompson. So known, and then I don't know why halfway through my notes I started writing Marty. I don't know what that was about, but I did. So Mickey Thompson was known as the Speed King. He was a racing legend. He revolutionized racing as a drag racing builder, driver, and right up your alley, promoter.
I know a thing or two.
Yeah. He began racing when he was 25 years old, and his motto was stand on the gas. He set about 500 different speed records. His most iconic moment is breaking the land speed record in 1960, becoming the first American to reach 400 miles per hour. And he was actually clocked at going 406.6 miles per hour. That is fast.
No kidding. I couldn't even. Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's fast. So that happened, like I said, in 1960 at the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah, and he was driving a Challenger 1 car.
Jill, let's put this in context real quick. You're talking about 1960.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of numbers in 2024 is too much to wrap your head around.
Yeah.
But in 1960, when your realm of how far you could go is nowhere near what it is now.
Yeah.
He in my mind, that dude became a, you can use legend, you can use icon, you can use the word forgive me, but this dude was a racing god. Like,
Yeah.
to do something like that. And I just kind of want to put that in context.
Yeah. I mean, I drive the highway every day, and
Right.
I have a little bit of a lead foot. And if I'm doing something, and I see someone fly past me. I know they're going fast. They're not going 400 miles an hour fast, but they're going pretty fucking
Right.
fast.
Yeah.
So all I can think of is if that person's doing 90, what does 400 look like? That's land
Couldn't
speed.
even imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Blur.
Yeah.
Just a blur. I mean, that's all that is.
Yeah, absolutely insane. Yeah, that's I can't even imagine. Like I don't even know how fast airplanes go because I've never been on one. But I don't know like what their miles per hour is. Like I
Right.
don't know. I mean, I would assume
It's up there, but with you being in the air, you don't feel it.
right.
You know, there's no basis of comparison. You're not in line with another plane. I mean, if you are, you got fucking problems.
Right.
Why is this thing so close?
Yeah.
So it doesn't, like, I've been on a plane, it's hundreds of miles an hour, you know, in comparison to road speed, but it just it don't feel the same. You don't see the same, you know what I mean?
Right.
Not like you would in a car, like,
Yeah.
because you're in it and you're doing it.
Yeah. So Mickey was born on December 7th, 1928 in Alhambra, California. And this I had to throw in because it was a little fun fact. He bought his first car, a 1920 Chevy, at the age of 14. Do you want to take a guess at what he paid for it?
What year was this?
14. He would have been, oh shit.
Oh,
Okay, he was 14, so it would have been around like
in the
1942.
right? Yeah. Okay. $25.
$7.50. I was
Wow.
like, that is crazy. $7.50. Now, mind you, it was a 15-year-old car.
Sure.
So
we're talking about the 1920 model year, so let's not get crazy. But $7.50 in the 1940s was something back then.
yeah,
You know?
for sure. Okay, let me find. So he was actually building cars by hand, like hand building cars before he was even legally allowed to drive a car. He quickly pursued a career in racing, designing the Slingshot Dragster. I know nothing about drag racing. Sorry. But I imagine that is a pretty significant design.
Yeah, it's what, it modeled everything after the fact.
Yeah.
Everything goes back to that basic concept, that design. It's been altered, it's been modified, it's been increased, as time has gone on. But this dude is like laying the blueprint of a specific genre and type of racing vehicle.
Right.
Yes.
So the design of the Slingshot Dragster was to put the driver behind the car's rear axle instead of in front of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what those are.
You've seen them. You've seen videos of them.
Oh, I'm sure
Everybody
I have.
has seen videos of them. You've seen them in, they've been in cartoons. They've modeled, which is kind of funny to say, but you go back and you look at some of the cartoon vehicles, especially the ones that were manufactured. They were influenced by this design because it looked like a superhero, or it looked out of the ordinary. You know what I'm saying? It was so different than what had been, and the more you're telling me, I'm like, well, damn, but this influenced this and this influenced that, and I didn't realize that's where it all stemmed back to.
Yeah.
So this is pretty fascinating for me.
So Mickey also worked as a journalist for the Los Angeles Times. Now, let me stop most of my information comes from the Law and Order Los Angeles. I believe it's episode 2. So season 2, episode 2. And then People Magazine did an article kind of piggybacking on the episode.
Okay.
So he did work as a journalist for the Los Angeles Times while running his own muffler shop and drag racing strip in the city. So, I mean, he was kind of like an all-around kind of...
Multifaceted.
Yeah. Sounds like someone else we know.
What are you
He
talking
then...
about right now? What are we doing?
Yeah. He then founded the Mickey Thompson Equipment Company to create high-performance parts for race cars in 1963. And he established, in 1963, he established Mickey Thompson Tires, which still exists today. And I talked to my brother before reading this article, and he was the one that he was like, yeah, you can still get Jesus Christ, words are hard. Mickey Thompson tires today. You can still buy them.
Really?
So, yeah.
Words Are Hard is also a T-shirt available over at pfccreepysoup.printify.me.
Yeah, that's going to be my next one. Like right now I got the We Love Dan shirt. But yeah, I do think my next one is going to be Words Are Hard, because I say that way more often than I did before I ever had a podcast. And I think what it is, my mind works way faster than my mouth, which is very weird.
I feel you. With me, I stutter. I mean, that's what happens, you know. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So over the course of his racing career, like I said, he nabbed about 500 land speed records. And of course, it was September 9th. So we're almost coming up on an anniversary of him being the first American to hit 400 miles per hour. I guess a little context would be equal to the muzzle velocity of a bullet.
Damn.
So
damn. Imagine that.
That's crazy to me.
It's it's almost, I was like, no, how can this be? How can that be? How can you test something like that and not just have your whole head just it's weird.
Exactly. So then again, it talks about his slingshot dragster, which he built the first one ever at his home. And he also, with that, became the first drag driver to exceed 150 miles per hour and created off-road desert racing as a spectator sport. So, I mean, this guy is really like you said, like a racing god, essentially. And like they said his name was Speed King, but I really don't think that sums it all up.
No, it's certainly, I know there's got to be something bigger that really illustrates the grandeur and just how much this dude has influenced one specific genre of sport and entertainment. You know,
Right.
you talk about the desert racing becoming a spectator sport. You know, who else before him had that mentality? So this is the promoter side. Of course, I'm going to be interested. I'm like, what a brilliant move!
Right.
He saw a blank landscape and made something out of that, and I can wholeheartedly appreciate that.
Yeah. So so he was married to his first wife, Judy, and with her he had a daughter, Lindy, and a son, Danny. Spoiler alert, Danny also becomes a racer. And that is going to be one of the high points at the end of my story. So after him and his first wife divorced, he married Trudy Feller. And at the time, she was a secretary at Hot Rod Magazine.
Judy and Trudy.
Yeah, I know, right? That is weird. I didn't even put them together. And Trudy they were married from 1971 until 1988. So his son Danny told CBS News that, this is a quote, "He was the man. He was a great dad, you know. He coached baseball, coached football, and he was still out racing. Like I said, he was the man." So before we get to the actual crime, which almost the way it happens, it almost seems like it shouldn't. I mean, obviously it shouldn't have regardless, but it's crazy. So at some point he meets up with, oh God, the guy's name. He ends up kind of partnering with a man named Michael Goodwin. Ugh. He is kind of, they were business partners because Mike Goodwin, what did he also had his hands in kind of like some other type. Motocross. He was a motocross promoter. So he also kind of got to the point where if he had to deal with a track or a venue or something like that, he would dip out on his bill. So the two of them, before he kind of became known as a deadbeat, Mickey and Michael kind of meshed their businesses, and because they were both promoters, and they figured, well, we'll cross promote, we'll promote all these things, we'll get these tracks and do your things this day, my things this day, and this could be lucrative. Well, Mike Goodwin did his same old shit and burnt Mickey Thompson, and so of course their partnership is now dissolved. And court appearance after court appearance, every time Mickey won the court appearances, but Mike Goodwin was like, "You're not getting a fucking dime out of me." And he was heard by many people like, "I'm going to kill you. You're never going to see the end of this court trial," kind of thing. So on March 16th, around 6 a.m., Mike and Trudy would leave for work together, and they lived in Bradbury, California, which was a gated suburb of LA. And this is where it was kind of like, how did these people get in? Because there is a gentleman on the documentary that states that his daughter took, I believe it was horse riding lessons within this gated community, and you had to show identification. You had to have like a notice of acceptance from whoever it was you were going to see. Like, this wasn't just hitting a button, "Hi, I'm here for whoever," and someone lets you in. Like, it was like Fort Knox, essentially. Right. So it's really weird how the two suspects got in to do this. So a neighbor reports hearing screams and gunfire. And then they also saw, now initially there was a witness that saw everything, but she was a minor and her parents would not allow the police to speak with her. Yeah.
The kids saw, do we have an idea about what age we're talking about here?
Like 14, 15, 16-year-old girl.
So old enough to be credible.
Yeah.
We're not talking like a 7 or 8-year-old that
right.
could have
yep.
taken something and blown it up.
Yeah, and it does say like later on, like once she became an adult, the police did find her, contact her, and talk to her, and everything she said like really kind of lined up with the evidence. She was getting ready for school and she heard screaming, looked out the window and saw Trudy like crawling around in the driveway to get away. And one of the men came up and shot her right in the head. And in the meantime, Mickey's yelling, "Please don't kill my wife. Please don't kill my life." That was like everyone described that was the love of his life. Like he loved her more than anything. And they killed her first and basically made him watch.
Jesus.
And then they killed him. Yeah, that like I couldn't even imagine.
Mm-mm.
Nope.
I sit here. You said that, like you can't see it from your vantage point, but like on this part of my desk, like it's my family, right? And as soon as you said that, like my eyes locked in on this one particular picture, and I'm just like, I can't. And then I go back to what must have been going through Mickey's mind, knowing that this was happening, or
Right.
watching that unfold. The psychological fucking that happened right then. He was already dead in a mental set, having to watch that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
God damn, I could not even imagine.
Nope.
Could not even imagine.
No, that would be fucking awful. Multiple witnesses reported seeing two black men fleeing, which to this day they have never been identified.
Really?
Yep. The two gunmen have never been identified, and this went to America's Most Wanted. Mickey's sister offered at the time a $1 million reward. Never have been identified. So some people initially theorized that it was a robbery gone wrong. However, there was hundreds of dollars in cash in Mickey's wallet, as well as Trudy's jewelry, which was expensive, and she also had thousands of dollars of cash in her purse. That was all still there, untouched, still there.
So this was very much a personally driven thing. Like these people knew who they were going after. This was a plan.
Yes. Oh, for sure. So when they spoke to Mickey's sister, Colleen Campbell, again, she had offered a $1 million reward. But she also believed that, well, a lot of people initially pointed their finger at Michael Goodwin, but then Colleen was like, hold on, wait a minute. Let me stop you. Prior, I believe it was in 1982, Colleen's son Scott was murdered, and his body was thrown from a plane. And the man that was convicted of killing him, I'm looking for his name. I don't see it. I thought I had it written down, but I don't, of course. It was Larry something or something Larry, who was also a race car enthusiast. And Mickey actually testified not as Scott's uncle, but as a car parts expert, which I kind of think he deserves that title.
Sure. Yeah.
And that whatever the testimony was, they don't, of course, the case isn't about that, which I'd kind of like to look further into that one because that's interesting too. But they thought maybe because it was just like 8 months from the guy being convicted and found guilty after Mickey testified, that maybe there could be something, like maybe the guy convicted of killing the nephew. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
That maybe him testifying in that trial kind of maybe. But then investigators, of course, investigated after his sister said, this might be another little But that was found out to not be the case. Pretty much everything pointed to Michael Goodwin, who in June, which was, I believe, 88 days after the murder, fraudulently obtained a boat, and him and his wife left the U.S. Just left.
Wow.
Well, they get him back, and he goes to prison for fraud. And at some point after getting out of prison, him and that wife divorce, and he marries another one. And I don't know. Anyway, once the story is shown on America's Most Wanted, it was either an ex-girlfriend or an ex-wife called and said, like, my ex, whatever he was, confessed to me that he did that. So then they started looking back on different exes, and there was a couple that had reached out, and then at some time during this point, is when they talked to the now adult neighbor that had witnessed some things. And then another neighbor had called and said, hey, look, I called the police a couple days before. Nobody ever came out to see anything. I'd come home from work early. My wife met me out there and said, I'm glad you're home. That car has been parked on the street all day long. There was a white guy in the driver's seat, a black man in the passenger seat. And when the neighbor gave a description of the guy in the driver's seat, it matched Michael Goodwin to a T. Him and his wife both later on picked him out of a lineup as a person in the car 2 or 3 days before the murder. So yeah, so they get a hold of the woman he was married to at the time of the murder. And this is now a homicide detective that has taken over from the original one. And the original detective said, if I ever get murdered, I want him to be the one that investigates my murder because he'll get the shit done. Mm-hmm. And he did. He truly, truly did. So he calls Michael's ex-wife and says, I'm Detective so-and-so from LA County Sheriff's Homicide Division, and we would like to talk to you about your ex-husband. And she basically says, nope, hangs up the phone. But they've also got her phone tapped. So now she starts talking.
Oh, shit.
And they eventually, while Michael is traveling, this detective sets it up for him to lose his luggage at the airport. And he decides to sit there next to this dude and kind of strike up conversations about being pissed about their lost luggage. And he does it because he wants to get his voice on tape. So when they do tap his phones, they'll know who's talking.
Right.
So they do that, and they get some shit. They arrest him, and initially, they kind of like Michael Goodwin gets out there, and he was like, "Oh, it's all corruption. It's this, it's that. They don't have shit on me. They created all of this evidence." Even though many people who saw him days before the murder heard the threats, the fact that the two gunmen again, to this day, have never been found or identified. So they really believe that he ordered this hit because of their business going to shit, essentially because of him. And when Mickey wanted to recoup some of his losses, instead of say like his favorite line was, "I'm broke. I don't have any money. I can't pay you." And then it went, "Well, then I'll keep taking you to court." So he continued taking him to court. He kept winning. And then after the last one, that's when he is heard. I don't remember by who, stating that you won't see the end of this case. I'll kill you first. Like, you won't see shit. So they really believe that he made good on that threat, and eventually he is arrested and put on trial. And in 2007, he was convicted by a jury for the murder of both Mickey and Trudy. He is serving 2 consecutive life sentences without parole for orchestrating those murders, and he has never come forward with the names of the other 2. I'm sure they probably said, "Well, if you give us their names, we'll cut you a little bit of a deal." Maybe
Right.
not, though. I don't know. And of course, he portrays himself as a victim of an unfair trial. He appealed his conviction. He's in the Richard J. Donovan Correctional Facility in San Diego. Still, even though he appealed, they were like, "Nope, stay where you're at." So, okay. So do you remember before when I said he was the first American to break the 400 miles per hour thing?
Yes.
Okay. Well, one of the things that Mickey said to his son Danny before his death was, "This is something you should do." Because, okay, he was the first American to go over 400, but he didn't hold the record for that. Like, that wasn't the fastest. So in 2018, August 12th, 2018 to be exact, his son Danny, I don't, it doesn't say what kind of car he used or anything like that, but he breaks his dad's record, and I believe he now holds the record. He was clocked at going 448.757 miles per hour.
I love the fact that the son is the one that beat the record
Yeah.
of the father.
Now, they show it in the documentary. I didn't see any here, but I want to try to look for the picture after he does this, because the picture, just looking at it, is just, it's kind of heartbreaking, to be honest with you.
I can't imagine though, because I mean, you're looking at a kid who is honoring his father's legacy in a world that his father was held in such high regard and did so much. And then you do something so extraordinary that you were beating your own father's record, but all of this happens in the wake. Oh wow, yeah. Okay.
That was after he did that. So,
Bless his heart.
and that is my story today.
Great story.
Thank you.
Great story. I mean, not great in terms of
Right.
this is happy, but as you were saying that, as you were talking about this, like I was going in back because I had pulled up their Wikipedia shit and I was trying to piece things in together. And the one thing that they had on there was the wanted poster of the sketch artist for the two killers,
Yep.
and it's like, it's to hear it's one thing, but to see it, the wanted poster and all this, like, man.
Yeah.
And this is back in 1988. All this shit went down, and I when you said the name, like I told you, I was like, this name rings a bell. I'm just not sure why.
Yeah.
And then okay, the racing thing, but it was these murders. I'm like, I feel like I remember this being on the news. I feel like I heard this. I feel like Tom Brokaw talked about this or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know, but as it all unfolded, I'm like, this is awful that this is real life, but this is also a fucking movie. This is the storyline of a movie that we've seen play out time and time again.
Right.
Um, just crazy.
Yeah.
Sick
And
people in this world.
yeah, I was talking to my brother earlier today, who I think we've talked about it before, is a huge race car fan.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, because I think we talked about it because I said I had my favorite driver, and it's so funny because there was a guy at work yesterday was wearing a Rusty Wallace shirt, and I was like, and I've seen him. He works on Trim One somewhere, so I've seen him,
Hmm.
and I was on my way out to the little smoke hut out there, and I had to stop, and I went and I said, I don't mean to bother you while you're eating your lunch, but I really like your shirt, and I walked away because I'm weird.
Well, you know, you probably made that dude's day.
Maybe.
You know, just a random compliment every once in a while, something like that, does make the difference. Shit, here we go. Like I talk about this on Tuesday's show, on the flagship show, but it's things like that. If that dude was feeling any kind of shitty feelings, having heard that from somebody that he doesn't necessarily talk to at all, you know, that has the capability of just snapping him right out of it. So you
Yeah.
may have made a tremendous impact on that dude's day and just not realized it.
Well, I hope I did.
I mean,
That'd
that's
be
how I
nice.
feel.
Yeah. But yeah. But I was asking my brother today, I'm like, so have you ever heard of Mickey Thompson? He was like, do you know who you're talking to? Yes, I know who he is. He was like, he's dead, right? And I'm like, yeah. I said, that's the story I'm recording today. And he was like, oh, okay. And he was the one that was telling me. And then again, I read it as I was researching about the tires. And I don't know if there's other car parts, but there's like several tires listed, and they're not cheap tires.
Right. Right.
But he said if you go like to different, like the classic car shows and things, he was like, there is a lot of things with Mickey Thompson's name on it.
You know, I wonder if that's why I kept hearing his name because my dad watches this show on Motor Trend TV and it's like a live auction thing that they do once a week or something. And they have all these old classic cars that come in, a lot of them original, you know, from top to bottom, inside and out. And I wonder if that's where if I had heard his name while eavesdropping on that show too, because
It would make sense.
a lot of the cars that they're auctioning off here are, you know, 50s, 60s, and 70s, and that's kind of like in this dude's wheelhouse, right?
Yeah.
So could very well be, you know, there's his thumbprint is in that car that just got auctioned off for a $250,000 or
Right.
whatever, you know.
Doesn't that
You
make
know,
you think we're in the wrong line of work?
yeah. The, we're building these motherfuckers right now. You know what I'm saying? We're building a version of these things. And
Yeah.
it's like, why are we not getting some of that?
Right.
You know, I want some of that.
Exactly.
I don't want the whole pie, Jill. Just give me a little sliver. I'm good with the sliver.
I'd
You
be
know.
happy with that. I'd be happy with that, or just some of the one of the parts that I build up are really heavy, and there's just sometimes I like to throw them at people.
It's funny you say that because the girl that works across the line from you, we have one of those relationships where we poke and prod each other,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and if people, when they bring new people over to work around us, like we'll turn that voltage up to the point to where these people think that she and I legitimately hate each other,
Oh yeah.
and there's fixing to be a race war going on, you know, because she's African American and I'm white, you know, so, but we go back and forth in such a way. Look, I go straight into wrestling promo mode, and I do not give a fuck. But you get these kids, or these new. There's this one new temp, Joe. Oh my god, this kid! We had this kid literally walking on eggshells. Nothing was directed at him, but he's like working next to me and across from her. So like her and I are kitty corner, and we're shouting back and forth. You know what? Why don't you just go fuck yourself? And I mean, just complete promos back and forth. This kid asked not to work around us anymore because he was scared to death that we were going to go to blows. And like we picked up on that. So every time we picked up on that, we turned up the voltage.
Yeah.
And God, it's shit like that that makes what we do tolerable. You know?
Oh,
because
absolutely.
if not, if you don't have that kind of, we could get sucked into a rabbit hole where so many other people in that plant, primarily on first shift, if we're being honest, they have that mentality. They're miserable, unhappy people.
Yeah.
I will never allow that place to do that to me. So you got to find ways like that. I know this was a complete sidebar story, but
No, but absolutely, yeah, you do. And it's funny you say that people that don't know you think that's how I describe my relationship with my brother-in-law. To
Mhm.
listen to us talk, you think we would absolutely hate each other
hmm
because he usually, like, my greeting from him is "Shut up, Jill." When Rachel first went to materials and was over by, she could tell you what Doc, I don't fucking know, F Doc, I don't know. But she was working over there by him and he knew we were friends and he said, "Hey, I got something. I need you to send it to Jill. Take a picture of this." And it's him doing this to send to me. So he got Rachel involved in it. It was the whole thing. But that's how we are. Like, I always tell him I'm going to light his beard on fire. People who don't know us think we hate each other.
yeah, that's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
It keeps people on their toes.
Absolutely.
Also, you're low key telling people, do not fuck with me.
Yeah.
Because if you think I'm being real, wait till you see what happens when it is real.
Right,
you know?
right.
So it's kind of, yeah, I think that's why I do it. I am not the one to fuck with. I do
No.
not care. I do not care. This is a job, and that's all it is.
Yep.
You mean nothing to me.
Yep.
And I make no bones about that. If you're in my circle, you're in my circle. If you're not, you're fucked. Do not approach me.
Right.
I'm not interested. And I mean, you got to, or else you get sucked, like I said, into the rabbit hole. Not
Yep.
doing it.
The drama, the pettiness. And I get this is with any workplace because I've worked in workplaces with a very small amount of employees where you got your cliques and these 2 or 3 people do whatever they can to fuck with these 5 people and it's miserable. And if you're these 5 people and you may occasionally talk to one of these people, then these people don't trust you. It's, yeah. So
it's too much.
I get it's everywhere. And there's some jobs, like before full-time at GM, I did like the direct care work. And that's not a job you can do just for a paycheck. You have to care about what you're doing.
Right.
And that's kind of when it was before I knew I was getting hired in. I was supposed to go in for like to update my trainings. And of course, we had Good Friday off at the plant. And I said, you know what? I had scheduled a day to go in for Good Friday to go do my trainings. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not going to do them because at this point I would only be going back for the coworkers because I didn't like the residents. And I'm like, this is not a job I can do without really giving a shit about those people. So I'm going to let my boss know that. And I'm just going to say, just remove all my shit. I'm done. And then I got hired. So
it all worked out.
It did. Because I even told my husband, I'm like, if I get laid off again, I live close to next year. I'll just go there. I can get hired in. That's fine.
Sure. Yep. I have goals. I have plans. This network is very much a big part of them.
Yeah.
Because this is what we do now to earn our paycheck is not what I want to be doing for the rest of my life.
No.
It's just not what people think it is. And,
No.
oh, you have a cushy job. Don't even fucking talk to me about what my job is or what you think my job is. You got no shitting idea.
Nope.
Unless you step foot in that building, you've got no clue.
Nope.
So just stop.
No.
Well, my so and so works there. I don't give a fuck.
Right.
You do not.
I mean, unless you work back in the crib,
Mm-mm.
that job would be golden. My father-in-law had that job at a plant in Saginaw before he retired. That I know is a cushy job.
Well, for sure. But how long did it take to get him to that point? You know,
Probably
he
quite a
earned
while,
that
yeah.
spot, I would imagine.
Yeah.
It's not something you get hired in on day one, day two, they're putting your ass in the crib. That does
No.
not happen.
No, absolutely not. But yeah, he worked in the crib until he retired. And he would tell us, and this was like, I've been with, oh Jesus, I started dating my husband, oh Jesus, in September it will be 33 years that I started dating my husband 33 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a long time. And I remember my father-in-law then saying that, like, the jobs are getting harder. They're making taking two jobs and condensing them into one, and they're getting harder. So like, I knew 30 years ago that they sucked. And
Mm-hmm.
look at me now.
Right in the thick of it, you know? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, if you haven't figured out already, as a programming note, the PFC Halloween store is now open. You go to pfchalloween.printify.me. Now, there's not a whole lot on there. They didn't give me a whole lot of Halloween themed apparel and merchandise. There's some shirts. There's different. I had to be creative with it, with some of the designs and logos. But you head over to pfchalloween.printify.me right now. For a limited time, you will have access to the Halloween inspired merchandise of all of our shows under the PFC network. That is the precursor for the for the holiday launch. And I'm going to tell you right now, happens November 1st. As
Okay.
soon as Halloween is done and over with, I am switching over to the holidays. Anybody who has a problem with it can wait till December 1st if that's what you need to do. But for all, I almost went into a real scathing promo right there, but I'm going to dial it back. I'll save that for Tuesday's show where you don't get the residual effect. But November 1st, and I'm telling you, right now, I think at last count, I had over 215 items ready to launch for the holidays. They gave
Okay.
me a lot more options still, a lot more options.
Okay.
But I understand Halloween's a big thing for a lot of people, so I did the best I could with launching a Halloween merchandise line. So you guys can check that out one more time. pfchalloween.printify.me or pfccreepysoup.printify.me. You guys are the first spotlight star. You
Well,
and Joe,
thanks.
or you and Jenny. You guys got the first standalone store that's not MWO Legacy or the holidays or anything like that. You guys were my guinea pig. So
I'll take it.
so all things Creepy Soup are in one spot. You don't have to go through 700 items on the main store. We've taken everything with Creepy Soup from the main store, moved it to its own sub store, and that is at pfccreepysoup.printify.me.
Okay.
I have nothing else.
I don't think I have anything else.
Well,
I
thank
think
you for
that's
letting
it.
me be on your show again. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you for doing it last minute. I know my daughter had planned on it, and she was on with Jenny and I earlier this year, and she did like an unidentified person, like somebody that was found here in Saginaw. And about a week ago, she found some information, and I was telling her then, I'm like, well, I would like to have you on anyway to kind of, help out with, filling in. And she was all for it. The only difference is I got to scoot over this way so she can sit here.
Mm-hmm.
So we had planned on doing that, and I do know she does want to do it because she does want to do a little update on her story. She was so pumped last week, let me tell you.
Can imagine.
Yeah,
And I love that kind of enthusiasm. I
Yeah,
really do. I really
and
appreciate that.
even my grandson said, "Why are you so hyper?" And she was like, "You don't understand. I did this on Nana's show."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, one of
Love that.
the big Facebook pages in Saginaw actually did a report on it, and there was some information that had come up in uh, the comment section that really got her excited. So she wants to talk about that.
Well, that's something to look forward to for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and put a bow on this week's episode. Great topic. You know, I mean, you had me engaged. You had my interest, so I appreciate it. I appreciate being able to sit in on the co-host seat. We've given you all the rundown on the merchandise, but if you have any questions, comments, hit the girls up over on their Facebook page, Creepy Soup Podcast. Look for that. And until then, we will see you next Sunday with another episode of Creepy Soup here on the PFC Entertainment Network.
Bye.